Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'm very excited because I have another foundation review. What else is new? I love foundation. I've told you guys a few times that anything that has to do with complexion, I'm always up for it. So for today's video, we're going to be reviewing the new Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. Now this is pretty new launch. I think it came out last week or so. I got mine from Ulta, but along with this I also picked up the Pretty Fresh primer, the concealer, and the setting mist. If you like this kind of videos, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload. Sorry if the lighting is a little weird. It's very cloudy today, so I'm trying my best. For primer, we're going to be using the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Hyaluronic Acid Primer. So this is what it looks like once you pump it out. As you can see, it's very liquidy. It smells a lot like coconut. Now this primer has coconut and hyaluronic acid. I've used this primer a few times now, and I really enjoy it. I think it's very, very, very hydrating. It does give you that very tacky feeling after you apply it. It is heavily scented, so maybe if you don't like scented products, you might not like this. But if you don't mind, I mean, the scent don't linger, but it's there. You could definitely tell. For foundation, we're going to be using the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation, and this is what it looks like. Now, I got mine in the shade 80W. I tried the 100W, and it was a little too dark for me, so I think this would be a better match. Hydrating foundation with the Skin Perfecting Medium Buildable Coverage for a natural, healthy looking skin. And this one is also dermatologist tested, oil free, and vegan. It's ideal for all skin types, and it has hyaluronic acid and coconut water. For one side of my face, I'm going to be using my Wet n Wild sponge, and for the other side I'm going to be using my Sigma Flat Kabuki F80. They do recommend to use either method. I'm just going to try with both so that you guys can see the difference in finishes. Now I'm going to start by applying a little bit. This one looks like. And this one is not as scented as the... It doesn't really smell like anything. The primer, on the other hand, the primer is heavily scented. But this one, you can't really tell. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the sponge. I only applied like about half a pump, but as you guys can see, it kind of just evened out my skin tone. It does look very hydrating, so I'm gonna do the same amount in the other side. So it was about that much, and I'm gonna start blending it with my brush. I don't notice a difference as far as like the amount of coverage that you get. Looking it up close, I do prefer the side of the brush, only because I do feel like it gave me just a tiny bit more coverage and it looks a little more evened out, whereas with the brush, kind of like just my skin just automatically, you know, drinked it up. So I'm gonna apply a little bit more. But if you like that very, you know, minimum, very everyday type of finish, I think just a pump for your entire face, I think that would be nice. But let's see how buildable this is. Now this time I applied a little bit more. Okay, it builds up pretty nicely, and as you can see, it gives you really nice coverage when you apply more. I don't notice that it feels heavy. It is very sticky, but it feels very, very lightweight. Okay, so I'm gonna try it in the other side. So I'm gonna apply more now. With the second layer in the brush, it is looking a little streaky. So I think, for me personally, I think I like the way the sponge blends it a little bit better, only because I don't notice that it gives me that very streaky feeling. Whereas with the brush, I don't think that the second layer it's blending as nicely as the first time it did. I think my preferred method for this one would be the thing that I normally do. I usually like to buff in the foundation, and then after I just go with the sponge to kind of like press it in. So I think it all depends on how much coverage you want. If you just want like something to even out your skin tone, something to give you that really fresh look, just with the sponge you would be fine. But for me personally, for the amount of coverage that I like, I think it's, you know, I would just use my regular method. And definitely with the sponge, I did notice that it picked up a lot of the product. So the sponge did soak a lot of the product, as you could see. Whereas with the brush, I didn't notice that that was the case. So this is the sponge, and this is the brush. So as you can see, it did pick up, but it wasn't a lot. Whereas with the sponge, I feel like you could definitely see a lot of the product got stuck right there. It's been sitting for a little bit, and you definitely have to set it because it's pretty transferable. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the Colourpop concealer for my eyelids. I normally use it for cutting the crease or just in general as an eye primer. I really enjoy the finish and how the colors apply on top of it, not necessarily for under the eye, because I do find it that it's very drying. When I saw that Colourpop was coming up with this foundation, I decided to pick this one up. Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer. I have mine in the shade 50W. I know this concealer is not new, but I had never tried it. This is a Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer. It's a long-wearing, full-coverage creamy concealer infused with hydrating ingredients for a natural, fresh finish. It's dermatologist-tested, oil-free, gluten-free, paraben-free, and ideal for all skin types. For the concealer, I also had picked up the shade 90W. That one was almost my skin color, so that one it's good for like kind of like spot concealer in my case, but for under the eye it was definitely too dark. I like my concealers to be just a little bit lighter. And this side I'm gonna go with the sponge, and this side I'm gonna go with the brush, just to see the difference and the coverage as well. So I'm gonna apply a little bit right here and another bit right here. I'm gonna rub some in the middle and make it visible, and this one also smells like the original Colourpop concealer. Okay, same. You definitely get more coverage with the brush than with the sponge. And for the concealer, I actually like the finish with the brush. I don't think that it looks streaky or anything like that. It actually looks pretty good, pretty smooth. Okay, so I'm just gonna blend everything. I don't know if you guys could see it, but it definitely covered way more on this side than on this side. On this side, you could still see my darkness peeking through on this side. I mean, I don't have a lot, but I do have some. So you could still see it right here. Whereas on this side, it looks pretty much concealed. So I'm gonna apply a little bit more on this side, and I'm just gonna be blending it with the sponge just to see if I'm able to get a little more coverage. Okay, so I think now we're even. So you definitely are able to build up that coverage. The only thing is that you would use a lot more product with the sponge, because like I said, I do feel like it's picking up a lot of the product, but it's actually pretty buildable, so that's nice. I'm taking a look at this side that I blended, not, you know, and it's already been sitting for a little bit, and it definitely settled into my lines, but you are definitely able to kind of blend it out, smooth it out with your finger. And I think that if you have very dry skin, or you just don't like to put powder under your eyes, I think this concealer will be pretty good for that. I mean, like I said, it does settle into lines, but it's nothing dramatic. So I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the final look. For my eyes, I use one of Colourpop's eyeshadows. For my highlight, I use another Colourpop item, but I'll leave all the stuff on the description box. Now we're gonna try the setting spray. This is the Colourpop Pretty Fresh AHA Setting Mist. This is oil-free, ideal for all skin types. It has hyaluronic acid and coconut water, and is a microfine, refreshing setting mist that hydrates for healthy looking skin. So now for this one, you do have to shake it, because you start seeing something. It's kind of like a residue, like a kind of, it looks kind of strange. It looks kind of yellowish. So you do have to shake it pretty good before you use it. The little, I don't know if you guys could see it, but it's so fine. It reminds it reminds me of the Morphe setting mist, the original one. That's how fine this one feels. It does smell a lot like coconut, so my fan is out of battery. Okay, so now that we are all zoomed out, let's start with the primer. Although this primer is not new, I just started testing it not too long ago. It does have hyaluronic acid, as I said, coconut water, and I actually do like it. I feel that if you have very dry skin, you would definitely love this. The reasons why I like it is because although it's very hydrating, it's also very tacky. So anything that you want to apply on top is gonna adhere to your skin really nice. Another thing that I actually do enjoy is that even though I have combination skin, I noticed that it doesn't necessarily makes me more oily than just, you know, normal hydrating primers do. So I quite enjoy it. Another thing that I wanted to mention in regards of this primer is that it's very similar to a lot of high-end primers that I own. I compared it with my Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer, and I find that these two are very similar. This one, it's a lot more lightweight, it's a lot more thin, like the consistency is a lot thinner, but this one does contain hyaluronic acid as well as this one. The other one that it's very similar, and I actually do think that these could be dupes, is the TooFaced Hangoverx Replenishing Face Primer. This one has coconut water, which I think that's what makes this one very sticky, and not necessarily the hyaluronic acid, but actually the coconut water. These two are very similar. So if you've been wanting to try the hangover primer, you could definitely get away with just getting the Colourpop one. Those are options. So if you've been wanting to try those higher end ones, definitely try the Colourpop, because it's actually really good. Now let's go over the foundation. This foundation, it's really good, since it does have hyaluronic acid and coconut water. If you have really dry skin, you would definitely love something like this. I enjoyed the coverage. I think that to be a hydrating foundation, I think that it gives you pretty nice coverage. You could definitely build it up. It doesn't feel heavy on the skin, which is another thing that I like. I do definitely enjoy that. Although as you guys saw, I applied multiple layers, you don't feel it heavy on the skin, and it does give you that very beautiful radiance appearance to your skin. So in that sense, I think this is really nice. Another thing that I really love from this foundation is that it comes in 42 shades. And the thing that I love the most is the actual undertone. Now I have more kind of very warm olive undertone, so sometimes it's really hard for me to find foundations that actually match me. Sometimes the warm is to orange and the neutral is to pink. The only foundation that I've found that it's a true match to my skin tone is the L'Oreal True Match in the shade W4. That's the one that it's the closest to my skin tone. Like I could wear it out in the sun and you can't really tell the difference. So that's another thing that I really enjoy about this foundation. Here's a comparison to my other foundations. We're gonna start with the Pretty Fresh in the shade 80W. That one is a True Match in the shade W4. J.Cat Beauty in Soft Tan. L'Oreal Age Perfect shade 35 Nude Beige. Bite Beauty Changemaker in the shade L40. Becca Ultimate Coverage in the shade Buttercup. If you have kind of like my similar skin tone, you would definitely love the shade range because, like I said, even though it says medium warm, it's actually pretty olivey and I really enjoy it. I tried this one, and like I said, I tried the 100W, and they both have the same undertone. Finally, the thing that I really enjoy is that this foundation wears beautifully. I've used it a couple times. As with everything in my channel, I always like to test out products multiple times before I actually talk about them. So I used this foundation a couple times, and I actually do enjoy how it wears throughout the day. If you have oily skin, I would definitely recommend you to set it with some loose powder because it does last a very long time on the skin. I have other higher end foundations that after certain hours they will break apart, or also the one that I recently tried, the J.Cat Beauty Skinsurance Max Coverage Foundation. If you want to see, I'll leave a card up here so that you guys could see. I did a full review on that foundation. This foundation does last a very long time. Now with other foundations, normally when they have more of that dewy finish, more of that hydrating finish, you start to see that they get very oily, or you know, at the end of the day they kind of disappear. I didn't find that was the case with this foundation. I actually wore this foundation for 4th of July, and here where I live, it's really hot and humid, and it lasts like the entire day, which it was very surprising. So for me personally, this foundation, it's really good. Whether you have dry skin, oily skin, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. Now the downside to this foundation is that, one, you can only get it either at Colourpop or Ulta, and it retails for $16. Now for a drugstore foundation, $16 is a little up there, you know, and I understand that, you know, over time drugstore foundations have, the prices have gone up, but $16 is kind of like more geared towards the $20 mark, so it's a little more expensive. So this is another product that I would definitely recommend you getting from Ulta, because you could, since it is considered drugstore there, you could use the coupon. For me personally, if you are paying $16 for foundation, I would assume it would be glass, and this is actually plastic. It looks like a frosted glass, but it's actually plastic. Those are the things that I don't think, you know, for what you're paying. It does have good ingredients, hyaluronic acid, coconut water, but you know, I think it's a little higher up there as far as price goes. But other than that, I think it's a really good foundation. I think it's really nice. It wears beautifully. It lasts a very long time. The shade range is actually really good. And as far as the skin undertones, I also think that, you know, they do have, you know, a variety. They obviously don't have every single shade, but definitely have a really nice variety of colors. So now for the concealer, the Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer, I actually did like this one. Like I told you guys, I have the original concealer, and I've never been able to use it under my eyes, only because I do find it that it's very drying on me. And then the times that I wore it, even without setting it with powder, it does look nice, but it is very drying under my eyes, and it starts cracking, and it, you know, after a few hours it doesn't really look pretty. But this one actually looks really nice, and it wears beautifully. Like I said, I wore this whole combo for 4th of July. It was really hot outside, and my makeup lasts all night. Another thing that I actually like from this concealer is that even though I didn't use a pore filling primer today, I do notice how it smoothed my under eye, and a little, like, I brought it down a little bit farther on my kind of like my cheeks right here, and I did notice that it blurred my pores a little, you know. So I think this concealer is really good. They also have a lot of shades, and I actually do like this undertone. This is the light 50W, and it also has that olivey undertone, so it's really good. It's very hard for me to find concealers with that olivey tone. Most of them have either more yellow undertone or more pinkish neutral undertone, but for this one it's actually pretty good. You can also wear that in your eyelids as eye primer. That's what I'm wearing today, and like I told you last time that I wear it, I also used it for to prime my eyelids, and I actually really enjoy it. As far as the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Mist, I love the mist on this thing. As you guys saw, it's really fine. It's very nice. You do have to shake it pretty good before you use it. But other than that, it does give you that very hydrated look. It smells a lot like coconut. So if you don't like scented products, stay away from this because they are heavily scented. Also, if you have very sensitive skin, I'm not 100% sure if you would want to try this, only because it does have coconut water. I know a lot of people are very sensitive to coconut oil, anything that has to do with coconut, so just keep it in mind. But other than that, I really enjoy it. Now, this is not a mattifying primer. You can use this to prep your skin, you can use it to set your skin, or you could even use it on its own, just if you want your skin throughout the day. I think it's really good. If you have very oily skin but you still want that very dewy finish for your makeup throughout the day, I personally wouldn't recommend spraying it in the T-zone or in the parts where you get oily the fastest. I think, like for me, I have combination skin, so I normally just apply it in the perimeters of my face, and then for the center I'll add something else. The times that I've worn this, I actually really enjoy that finish that it gives me. But you know, obviously I am oily, so throughout the day I do have to kind of like touch it up a little. But other than that, it's a really nice skin setting mist. I actually do enjoy this, and it's very hard for me to like those these types of setting mists, especially when they claim to be dewy. My all-time favorite is the Forsali. So I noticed that these are a little similar. The Forsali keeps my makeup a little bit longer, but this would be a really nice alternative if you don't want to spend the money on the Forsali one. Hope this video was helpful. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'm gonna insert a clip of this makeup at the end of the day so that you guys could see how everything wore. And this is my makeup after filming. I just had some quick lunch, which is why my lipstick is gone, but other than that, that's the makeup. This one is when we went to Target. I had to wear the mask, and as you could see, the makeup's still there. It didn't transfer that much, but you are able to see a little bit of my nose and my chin, which is where the makeup was gone at the end of the night. And it's already 9 o'clock at night. As you guys could see, you were very nice. I actually went to Target and we went to get some ice cream. I did have to wear a mask, and as you can see, it didn't really rub off my skin. It actually looks very pretty. I don't know if you guys can see it in my forehead, my cheeks. Obviously, I do look a little oily in my T-zone, but that's normal. That's usually with every foundation. But I don't think that it completely broke apart. My chin. Obviously, I was touching my face because I was editing the first part of the video, but as you can see, the concealer's still there. And my actually I didn't wear any eye primer. I just did my concealer, and my eyeshadow still looks pretty good. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.